Alright, picking up where we left off in that last video, we are able to move to the left and right by using A and D. But we want to be able to actually fire a projectile. We didn't talk about it last time, but if you press the Action 1 key, it will call the function Fire Projectile. Let's see if that actually works. So if I press space, player called, player 1, or player fire called. So he's trying to shoot something, but he doesn't have the ability to actually do anything, so he can't shoot. And for some reason, I cannot move anymore. Why can I not move? What did I do? Somehow I deleted my whole section of code. Whatever. Dingbat. Alright, let's try again. Alright. Fire called. There we go. Alright. Let's make it where our guy can actually fire something. In order to do that, we're going to need a projectile. So let's work on making a projectile. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to go, we have a projectiles folder already. One of them is a simple projectile. We're going to make a new one for our jet or for our player. So click and create a new scene, and then you're going to do a 3D scene. And then you're going to call this one missile. Alright, we're going to end up probably making our own missile during the week out of a mesh. So mesh instance 3D. I'm going to hit create. For your mesh, we're just going to, for the starting of this, we're going to do something really simple, just like we always do. We're going to add just a regular cylinder, just something really straightforward. And then we're going to add, let's make the detection. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, so last time we clicked on mesh and we did collision shape and we did single convex. That looks okay. I don't know if I like that one. Let's see if we can get a different one. Maybe we can just pick the shape. Is there a different shape we can do? Is there just a cylinder? Yeah, okay, do that. Do just the regular cylinder because it's less detail. We don't really need much detail here. Okay, so I've got a regular mesh and I've got this cylinder for my collision. Now, it doesn't have a body, so it's going, hey, what is this collision for? So what I want you to do is click on missile, hit add, and you're looking for an area 3D. And then I want you to take that shape that you just made and put it inside of the area 3D. And that area is going to be the detection zone. It's going to detect whether we are hitting something we want to destroy, or if it's not something we want to destroy, then we'll just ignore it. Alright, so I've got a missile, I've got a mesh, I've got this area here, which I renamed detection zone, and there's that collision shape area. Right click on your area 3D and select access as unique name. We're going to call this thing by name. Let's save our scene here, so Control S. We're going to put this in the scenes folder for projectiles, and it's just going to be called, we're going to call this player missile. So player missile, save. There's our player missile. And we're going to need to attach a script to this. So let's do add. And let's put this in the right folder. So it's going to go to scripts, projectiles. Let me make sure I get this name correct because I don't want to make any mistakes. Yeah, it just stays player missile. Open and create. All right, again, I'm going to just put some script on the screen so we can figure out what this missile's actually doing. Okay, future Eversoul here. We're actually going to be using the exact same code that we used for the simple projectile. Hopefully this doesn't turn into a giant disaster forcing me to redo this video. But in my game, I actually use the same script for both simple projectile and player missile. Okay, so I detach that script, hit the plus sign, and let's go grab that simple projectile. I wonder how many people that's going to throw off. Probably quite a few. Projectiles, simple projectile. Open, load. All right, here's the deal. If we use this simple projectile, the speed for this is negative, so it's moving downwards. So the astute amongst you might go, hey, this moves downwards. Well, let's see how Mr. Eversoul fixes this. I don't even remember how I fixed it, so let's find out together. Okay, so you know what? Let's just use this code. I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to go, so we've got our projectile. Let's go back to our player ship here. And we're going to have to add a few things to get him to actually be able to fire this thing. Player missile, player. Okay, let's start adding some stuff. We need to get to the projectile holder. I'll spare you the details. This is how you get to the projectile holder. That's going to be, your character is in the player holder, and we need to go up to and then down to the projectile holder. So there's that. The level hold, we need to get the player missile scene. So let's get the player missile. I don't know what just happened right there. File not found. Womp womp. I'm going to close some of these. Player ship. He needs the missile. Do we have... Oh, I bet you the name player missile is not the same in both of them. So let's go to projectile player missile. Nope, that looks right. Projectile holder is probably right. Alright, I added quite a bit of stuff. I'll go from the top to the bottom telling you what is what. Get the projectile holder. This is our muzzle location. The first line is get the projectile holder, and that's the path to get to it. The next one is the muzzle. That's where we're going to put the bullet. The third one is the actual projectile. That should be in the projectiles player missile. That's the scene. So you just say player missile, preload, and then you want to put this scene into that spot. You can drag and drop and it will fill that in for you. I did put a maximum number of projectiles in there. We're not actually using this yet, but this is the maximum number of bullets that we're going to want the player to have on the screen. If you don't have this, that'll make it where the player can just shoot infinite bullets, which I don't really... You're not going to want that. Projectile speed. This is where a lot of the heavy lifting gets done for our projectile. Or, well, this is what's going to determine which way it's going, either upwards or downwards. How much damage the projectile does. It's only going to do one. Right now, everything really has no health. We're kind of putting this in there preemptively. So, yeah. Boundary stayed the same. This ready function is just kind of chilling there. Has nothing in it. This is our directions. Nothing changed for that. I could probably hide that. I'm afraid to hide stuff like this because then you guys just think code disappeared when code didn't really actually disappear. Movement stayed the same. All right, now here's the firing the projectile. We create a new projectile. I probably could just move that up there to save a line, but simple projectile count, I don't need that. Let me get rid of that. Actually, you know what? Let me leave it. We'll leave it at 0 to start with. New projectile is going to be the player's missile. So we go to the player missile scene and we basically load a missile and put it into new projectile. Then we go to the projectile holder, which we said up here. We gave it its location, which is just this projectile holder. And we say, wait for the computer to be ready. That's what call deferred says. Hey, whenever you're ready, add a new projectile to the projectile holder. So go to projectile holder. Make sure you wait for the computer to be ready because some computers might not be fast and you don't want to crash their game. So wait for the ready, add that new projectile you just created here. And then we want to move the new projectile to the location of the muzzle, which is that spot that we declared on the player's ship right there. That's going to be its starting location right there at the tip of that. So move it to the tip of the player's barrel. And then lastly here, this is where we're going to tell it, hey, what direction are you going, or what is the projectile speed? What is the projectile's speed? So we're going to the new projectile, and we're going to have to add a function that tells the bullet what its speed is, which direction you're going. And so we're going to need to add this into our simple bullet. So I'm going to grab this name, projectile settings, and then I'm going to go to the missile and I'm going to add this function. So I'll say function, this one here, and we need the speed, and all it's going to do is when this function is called, it's going to update that speed. Currently negative moves it downwards, so if you change this to be positive, the bullet will start going upwards instead. So I'll say speed is equal to speed. I know that right there might be an annoying thing to look at. It's probably not the best way to write it, but hey, whatever. I have a capital speed there. That is basically the default speed, so it's default moving downwards. But when I call this projectile settings, I say change your default speed to whatever it is I'm sending you. So this is the simple projectile. We made a new function. Let me just write this down. This function allows us to change the speed of the bullet. Okay, so if you don't change it, it's going to move the wrong way. So this is what that's for. Save. Go back to the player. Okay, so projectile settings is what I just added, and projectile speed is what I've got here. Okay, so I'm saying go to the projectile, the newly created projectiles, update the settings with this speed right here. And we could change that later on. All right, let's see if our Gizmodo is working. Play. I'm going to push the fire button, and it absolutely is working. Now, right now, these projectiles do not destroy themselves. They just keep on flying through the screen, and they never end. I don't like that, so we can make this where this actually destroys the enemies when it hits it. So we want to know when it actually detects something. Let's see if I could work on that right quick. Alright, I just added some code to our simple projectile. Now remember, I attached the same script to both the missile and the simple projectile. So that may cause you guys a little bit of confusion. I don't want that to be the case, so I'm going to try to help the best I can and keep this as clear as possible. So if I click on player missile here, I've got detection zone. It looks like I remembered to make sure this is a unique name. So I see that little % sign. So I know that this detection zone is getting is here. Find the detection zone because it's got that. But if I look on the other simple projectile here, this one does not have the unique name. So make sure they both have unique names. So to add it, just right click and say access as unique name. Okay, so both my player missile and my simple projectile have the same script. And what determines whether it moves up or down is the speed. Okay, I added a bullet type, and I'm not sure if I added this boundary or not, but we have a boundary for the y-axis. I think that's where it makes it where it deletes itself. I don't know if I had that on there before. I don't want to go backwards, but the bullet type simple projectile. That simple projectile comes from the squirt. And missile would be from player if we were going to do that, because so we can use that string or the name to determine which one's which if we want to do such a thing. All right, and then I added the ready function, and it says go to detection zone, and the signal body entered. So like if you go to the detection zone on either the player missile or the simple projectile, and you look at their signals, the signals they have are over here on the side, and one of those signals is body entered. Now, if you don't use this line, what you'll have to do is you'll have to go to the missile, you'll have to click body entered, and you'll have to connect it. And then you'll have to go to this one, and you'll have to click body entered, and you'll have to connect it. But if you don't want to have to do that every single time, you can connect it with this one single line of code right there. So that line of code is doing the clicking for me. I don't have to click every single time. I can just type this one line. Go to detection zone, find the signal body entered, and connect it to this function right here, collision detected. All right, so what I have here is when there is a collision, whenever it hits something, whenever body entered plays, it will print the line, something collided with me, and then it will tell me the bullet type, which right now it's only simple projectile, and the collider, which is the thing it hit. What is its name? What is the name of the thing that I hit? So let's see if our code does anything, if we get any printouts here. So the simple projectile is hitting all kinds of stuff right there. That is the ones that the squirts are firing. So you can see it's hitting the floor, it's hitting other squirts. It's right there. I don't know if it hit the player yet. Right there, it hit the player. Now if I fire the missile, it's saying that it is firing and hitting squirts, but nothing's happening. But this is good because we're detecting the things that we want to detect. Now the problem is the player doesn't shoot a simple projectile, it shoots a missile. So let's update that. So let's go to the player, and the player, when he fires the projectile, not only do we want to tell it what the projectile speed is, we also want to tell it the type. Let's just call this missile. Let's do missile. We'll just do that. Okay, so remember that projectile settings function that we just made, and we sent it the speed? Let's also send it the name of the object that's getting sent, which is from the player. We're sending a missile. So let's go back to our simple projectile, and where it says projectile settings, speed, we will also send it a type. So type, that was the second thing I just sent, and the bullet type now is going to be this type. So I could put right here update speed, update, I don't know why that looks weird in my brain, and then update bullet type. Okay, so when we call this function, we can change the direction and we can change the type of bullet that's being fired. Let's try this again. Oops, nope. Test world plate. All right, now the squirts are firing the simple projectile, and the player is firing a missile. So there you can see it's going through, and it's detecting colliders. It's detecting that these things are what, you know, the missile. Here, let me just pause it right there. So the missile collided with a squirt. And then here, the simple projectile collided with the floor. So we can go to our simple projectile script, and we could basically say if bullet type is a missile, right? You can make sure you spell it the same too by just looking. I used a capital M. So if this is a missile, and collider name is, and I'm just going to pick one of those names. Let's just grab this squirt arm 0. Then we could say hit, we'll say print player scored a hit. Alright, I'm going to remove this just for a moment so it doesn't print out a billion times. So if it is a missile and we hit a squirt armature 0, then it'll say, hey, you hit something. Let's play it. Alright, so now I'm going to shoot. I don't know which one's the 0. It's probably the yellow guy. Yep. The yellow ones are squirt 0, 0. So then I can actually hit it. It keeps printing out the direction change. So I'm going to go to this squirt holder. I want to remove that thing that's printing that out. Maybe, is it the squirts that are doing that? It might be the squirts. Enemies. We might have to do this anyway. Right there. I don't want to read all that every single time, so I'm removing that. All right, play again. When I fire my projectiles now, it can detect that I'm hitting a yellow squirt. It's not detecting the red ones. It's not detecting the green ones. It's not detecting the blue ones. But it does detect the yellow ones. So I could, let's go to my missile here, or this is the simple projectile script. When I hit a squirt that I want to destroy, I could just destroy it. I could say collider dot q free. Why isn't it autofilling? Q, I think it's QUE underscore free. Stupid thing. Let's see if that works. I'm pretty sure that's right. I don't know why it's not autofilling for me. Let's go ahead and give it a shot though. Boom, boom, boom. I'm killing those yellow guys, but I can't kill anything else. Okay, that's fine, but what's going to happen is you're going to be adding more squirts as time goes on. Man, I'm going to have to pause this video because it's 25 minutes. Alright, I'm going to stop here, and then I'll record another video. I'll go ahead and do another one.